A young lord and I tangled in my dreams, night after night. He called me sister in a voice that could melt my bones. Later, I stumbled upon the sixth prince bathing in the princess's mansion. I rolled my eyes back, ready to faint, but the sixth prince caught my waist in one arm, smiling with a cold, wicked charm. Sister, you were riding bold and free last night. Why so weak today? The absurd scenes flashed back in my head. My dizziness vanished at once. Your Highness must have mistaken me for someone else. The sixth prince brushed my hair aside, smiling ambiguously. Sister has a red mole behind your ear. This brother has kissed it so many times. How could I mistake you? 1. Steam curled through the air. My hand froze on the door. I'd gotten lost in the princess's mansion and meant to rest in a random room, never expecting anyone to be there. Inside stood a handsome young man, bare-chested, still damp from his bath. Water slid down his smooth, defined muscles, disappearing into his white silk undergarments. A faint old scar marked his chest, like a tiny flaw on white jade. At the sound of the door, his peach blossom eyes narrowed, sharp gaze cutting toward me. Hit this. Could he be a male favorite kept by Princess Yunhua? But the princess and I were close. She'd never mentioned such a thing. He looked familiar. I wasn't sure. I stared again. One look, and I spun around sharply. I knew who this was. This was the princess's own younger brother, the sixth prince, Li Xuanchuan. Li Xuanchuan was 3 years younger than me, and had spent years training on the battlefield with his grandfather. In my mind, he was still just a pretty boy I'd met a few times. I never expected to see him like this. I blurted out a hasty sorry and tried to leave, but in the next moment, an arm slammed the door shut, trapping me in the tiny space. I think I know you, sister. Li Xuanchuan had sharp brows and bright, clear eyes. His voice smooth and bright, yet strangely familiar. My nose filled with the soft scent of his bath. I was mortified, desperate to escape. Your Highness, I am Qin Qinghe. We have met several times. I meant no offense. Pierre, please get dressed, and I will apologize properly another day. I spoke plainly enough. If he still wouldn't let me go, it would be unforgivable. The man behind me moved, but not as I'd hoped. My hair was gently pulled aside. The young man's warm breath brushed my nape, sending a shiver down my spine. The gesture was far too intimate. My heart tightened. I decided to fake a faint, but before I could collapse, Li Xuanchuan wrapped an arm around my waist. He laughed softly, but there was a cold edge to it. Sister, you were riding hard and fast last night. Why so delicate today, too? Riding, hard, and fast. 4 words hit me like a hammer. For 3 years, I'd been having dreams with a faceless young man, tangled in passion. I only knew he was younger than me, had a scar on his chest, and called me sister in a voice that turned my legs to jelly. But his name, his home, his face, I knew nothing. Just last night, that young man had lain on the bed, gripping my waist, urging me hoarsely, sister, faster. Is that all you've got, sister? As he spoke, he pressed a delicate soft whip into my palm. Sister, how can you ride without a whip? Fine sweat slid down his firm abdomen, shattered by rough, quick movement, along with it. His teasing laughter and my soft, pleading cries. The absurd scenes rushed back. My dizziness was gone. I was about to explode. My face burned, but I forced calm. Your Highness must have the wrong person. Is that so? Li Xuanchuan sighed softly. In the next moment, his warm lips pressed against my neck, nibbling gently behind my ear. When he spoke again, his voice was rough and low. Sister has a red mole behind your ear. This brother has kissed it so many times. How could I mistake you? 3. This was the death of me. I'd guessed everything except that the man in my dreams was Li Xuanchuan. And who was Li Xuanchuan? The Empress's precious darling, the notorious little tyrant. Getting tangled with him would only bring trouble. With that thought, I decided to play dumb to the end. I pushed him away firmly. I don't understand what you're saying, Your Highness. Even a prince may not dishonor a lady so casually. I pushed hard, but Li Xuanchuan didn't budge. Instead, he curled my hand in both of his and held it tight. He looked at me with glistening eyes, his tone almost aggrieved. How can you be so cruel? Sister, you had your way with me, and now you turn your back. Are you going to abandon me after using me? I stared at him in disbelief. I knew Li Xuanchuan was unreasonable, but this unreasonable. But every time it was you who, I cut myself off mid-sentence, meeting his teasing gaze. Damn it, I almost slipped up. Li Xuanchuan was about to speak when a maid called my name from outside. I found strength from nowhere, yanked my hand free, and fled without looking back. The maid sighed in relief when she saw me. Miss Qin, there you are, the princess is asking for you. I smoothed my hair hastily and forced a smile. Lead the way, please. We walked far, but I could feel a sharp, possessive gaze burning into my back, following me everywhere. I slowly calmed down as I followed the maid. Today was Princess Yunhua's banquet, but as soon as I arrived, Zhao Qianru, who'd always disliked me, started provoking me. She called me sickly again and again, hinting I shouldn't ruin everyone's fun. She was still bitter about last month, when I'd faked a faint and made her father, the Minister of Works, drag her to the Prime Minister's mansion to apologize. I didn't want to argue with her. Instead, I let my eyes fill with tears and said pitifully, if Sister Qianru dislikes me so much, please forgive me for leaving early. I don't want to be a bother. Tears streamed down my face like broken pearls. Just then, Princess Yunhua arrived. When she saw me crying, she immediately asked what was wrong. I leaned weakly against her, sniffling. I'm just not feeling well. Sister, it's not Sister Qianru's fault. Please don't blame her. Yunhua's gaze turned cold as she looked at Zhao Qianru. Zhao Qianru looked ready to explode, but under the princess's stare, she ground her teeth and apologized to me. Miss Qin, I spoke out of turn. Please don't mind me. Stop crying. I hid deeper in Yunhua's embrace, ignoring her, and whispered weakly, Princess, I'm dizzy. I'd like to rest. Yunhua agreed at once. She gave Zhao Qianru a light, cold glance, then led me to the back courtyard herself. Once there, Yunhua had snacks brought to me, told me to rest well, then hurried back to the front. I grew bored and wandered off only to get lost. And getting lost led me straight to Li Xuanchuan. Thinking of him made my stomach twist with fear. That little tyrant clearly wasn't going to let this go. What was I going to do? Back in the main hall, Yunhua took my hand, fussed over me, then got to the point. Qinghe, do you remember what I told you earlier? I sighed inwardly. Princess Yunhua had been playing matchmaker for me lately, introducing one talented young man after another, but because of those dreams, I couldn't marry at all. I'd even pretended to be weak and sick for years. How could I bother looking for a husband? My head throbbed, but I answered sweetly, of course I remember. Sister, Yunhua clapped her hands happily. Perfect. I invited young Master Shen today. If you don't mind, why don't you meet him? She quickly added, to ease my worry. My brother just returned to the capital today too. I'll have him join us. Just think of it as friends chatting, no pressure. I almost spat out my tea. No pressure before, definitely pressure now. But I couldn't say no to those bright, hopeful eyes. The words died in my throat. I smiled instead. All right, thank you, Princess. Happily, Yunhua rushed off. When she returned, she brought someone with her. At the front was an elegant, handsome young man. He stared at me for a moment, then lowered his eyes and bowed politely. Greetings, Miss Qin. I guess this was Shen Yanghui, the top second-place scholar Yunhua had praised so highly. I quickly curtsied. I've long heard of your talent and looks, young Master Shen. A pleasure to meet you at last. Shen Yanghui blinked and smiled. Not half so lovely as you, Miss Qin. I was surprised, then laughed softly. He wasn't the stuffy old scholar I'd imagined. Yunhua watched us, grinning, and waved us forward. All right, enough flattery. Sit and talk. My face heated up. I stepped aside. After you, young Master Shen. Before I could finish, a tall, hard body pressed against my back. I stumbled, but the man caught my waist firmly, keeping me from falling. I looked up, shaken, and whispered, The thank you died in my throat. Li Xuanchuan's strikingly beautiful face was inches from mine. He smiled faintly, raising an eyebrow. How old are you now, sister? Still so clumsy. My eyebrows twitched. I stood up stiffly. Sorry for offending your highness. Li Xuanchuan let go smoothly, stepped past me, and ignored Yunhua's frantic silent signals. He sat down boldly next to Shen Yanghui. then looked back at me. Sister, come sit here. Me, coming, only one seat was left, so I had to sit between Yunhua and Li Xuanchuan. Servants brought tea and pastries. We chatted as we ate. Yunhua was determined to play matchmaker, steering every topic back to Shenyanhui and me. You know, for all my sister here looks delicate, she knows her own mind. When choosing a husband, she wants talent, looks, good character, and most of all, utter devotion. Isn't that right, Qinghe? Yunhua patted my hand under the table. Shenyanhui glanced over gently. I knew I should give a proper answer, but I didn't dare make a sound. My nails dug into my palms. Just then, Li Xuanchuan spoke slowly. Whoever wins Sister Qin's favor would dare not look at another. His voice was calm, but his hand under the table gave a skillful, firm squeeze. My face flushed red at once. I clutched my chest and coughed violently, barely hiding the sound that almost escaped my throat. 7. Li Xuanchuan was utterly despicable, taking advantage of our loose, wide sleeves and the table covering him. His hand wandered shamelessly. I pinched his waist as hard as I could, but he still looked utterly relaxed, even winked at me. Infuriating. Perhaps seeing how pale I'd grown, Shenyanhui stood to take his leave not long after. I sighed in relief and rose, apologetic. I'm not feeling well today. I've been rude. Shenyanhui smiled softly. Not at all, Miss Qin. Just meeting you is my honor. From anyone else, this would have sounded glib, but Shenyanhui's bearing was so refined that you couldn't help believing he meant it. I stared for a moment, then smiled. Farewell, young Master Shen. Yunhua saw we were finished and stepped forward to see him out. As soon as they left, only Li Xuanchuan and I remained. The air grew thin, angry at his teasing earlier. I didn't want to say a word. I just turned to leave, but before I could take one step, my arm was seized. Li Xuanchuan pulled gently, and I fell into his chest, holding me from behind. He lowered his mouth to my ear and bit my earlobe lightly. Ah! I cried out and tried to break free, but somehow, I couldn't use any strength against him. After struggling uselessly, I gave up and snapped at him. Are you a dog, biting people for no reason? Soft kisses fell along my neck. Li Xuanchuan's lips were burning hot, but his voice was cold. You spoke 215 words to him, looked at him 8 times, smiled at him 3 times. You've been bad, sister. You deserve to be punished. 8. Furious, I bit down hard on his shoulder. Li Xuanchuan grunted, but instead of letting go, he held me even tighter. His scorching breath fanned my ear. Sister has learned to bite now. He laughed low, voice full of delight. This brother likes it very much. I was nearly driven mad by him. I was about to shout again when Princess Yunhua's voice came from outside the door. Xuanchuan, what are you doing in there? My heart jumped. Taking advantage of his distraction, I slammed my elbow into his stomach and broke free. Your Highness, show some respect. With that, I straightened my messy clothes and pulled open the door before he could speak. Princess Yunhua stood outside. She stared at my reddened eyes, surprised. Qinghe, what's wrong? Did Xuanchuan bully you? I took a deep breath, calming my panic, and shook my head. Nothing. I'm just tired, a little dizzy. Li Xuanchuan leaned against the doorframe, watching my little act with amusement, a lazy smile on his lips. I didn't dare meet his eyes. I quickly bowed to Yunhua and fled. On the carriage home, my mind was in chaos. Li Xuanchuan was a prince, the most unapproachable troublemaker in the capital, and I, the Prime Minister's daughter, looked noble but was only a pawn in my family's hands. I faked sickness partly because of my shameful dreams, but also to escape being a pawn, to live freely. If I got tangled with Li Xuanchuan, 3 years of planning would be ruined. No, absolutely not. I had to make him lose interest in me. 9. For the next few days, I stayed home, claiming illness. One afternoon, I was resting on the couch when my maid rushed in. Flustered, Miss, Teach, the 6th prince is here. I jolted upright. What's he doing here? His Highness says he heard you were unwell and came to visit. Master's waiting for you in the front hall. Hurry. I reluctantly went to the hall. My father was speaking politely, while Li Xuanchuan sat casually to the side, sipping tea. When he saw me, he smiled faintly. Sister looks much better. I'm relieved. My father coughed awkwardly. I quickly bowed my head and greeted him properly. Greetings, Your Highness. No need for such formality, Sister Qin. Li Xuanchuan stood, walked over to me. His voice full of concern. I heard you were sick, so I brought some fine supplements. You must take good care of yourself. Don't get any thinner. These words were already improper. I dared not reply. My father stepped between us in time. My daughter only has a slight cold. She's fine. There's no need for Your Highness to worry. You're too polite, Prime Minister. Li Xuanchuan smiled innocently. I get along well with Sister Qin. It's only natural I care for her. My father opened and closed his mouth, finally only bowing. Your Highness, my daughter is not worthy. 10. Thankfully, Li Xuanchuan knew when to stop. He didn't stay long and left soon after. After he was gone, my father called me to his study. What is going on between you and the sixth prince? I groaned inwardly, but looked blank. I don't know, Father, we've only met a few times. My father studied me for a long while, then sighed. The sixth prince is willful and reckless. He is not a good match for you. Stay away from him. I nodded quickly. I understand, Father. When I returned to my courtyard, there was a delicate wooden box on the table. Xiao Dao whispered beside me. Miss, this was sent by the sixth prince's men. He said it's supplements for you. I opened the box and slammed it shut again at once. Xiao Dao jumped. Miss, are you all right? I'm fine. You may leave. Once she was gone, I quickly hid the troublesome box in my cabinet. It held no ginseng or deer horn. Inside lay a soft black whip, strung with tiny silver bells. It was exactly the one he'd pressed into my hand in my dreams. The non-stop tinkling seemed to ring in my ears. I locked the cabinet and spat quietly. Madman. 11. That night, I dreamed again, this time. I saw Li Xuanchuan's face clearly. He leaned lazily against the couch, black hair spread out, robes half open, exposing his bare chest. His striking, bright face looked even more enchanting in the candlelight. His peach blossom eyes were soft and wet, fixed on me. When he saw me, he smiled and held out a hand from afar. Sister, did you like today's gift? I clenched my hands unconsciously and stood still. The black whip lay casually on the edge of the bed, the silver bells glinting faintly in the dark. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. Your Highness, I think we should not see each other anymore. Li Xuanchuan laughed softly and sat up slowly. Oh, why? He stepped off the bed barefoot and walked toward me step by step, whether we meet or not. When did that become your choice? He stopped in front of me, bent slightly, his warm breath brushing my cheek. Sister, do you truly feel nothing for me? My heart skipped a beat. Feel something? How could I not? In those countless absurd dreams, not knowing who he was, in every tempting sister that curled through my ears, I had already fallen too deep to climb out, but reason screamed at me. He was a prince. My father was the prime minister. If we were involved, I would be trapped between two powerful factions, torn apart. I forced myself to calm down, lifted my eyes to meet his, and spoke seriously. Everything that happened was just my momentary foolishness. It was only a dream. It means nothing. Li Xuanchuan's eyes turned colder and colder. I lowered my gaze slightly and continued. We will each marry in time. I beg your highness to let me go. After a long silence, Li Xuanchuan suddenly laughed. Marry someone else. He grabbed my wrist and yanked me into his arms. The familiar scent surrounded me. I struggled in panic, but he held me fast. Li Xuanchuan lowered his head. His warm lips were about to meet mine. I turned my face away and squeezed my eyes shut, but the kiss never came. Our breaths tangled roughly. Li Xuanchuan let me go. I stumbled back 2 steps, staring at him in shock. Li Xuanchuan stood there, his expression unreadable. Qin Qinghe, you can kill me, but I will never let you go. I jolted awake from the dream, my clothes soaked in cold sweat. Outside the window, the sky was already bright. 12. After that night, I couldn't sleep well for days. Li Xuanchuan's words echoed in my ears over and over. Worse still, the autumn hunt was coming soon. Yunhua came to the mansion personally to invite me. Refusing would mean offending her. On the day of the hunt, Yunhua sent for me early. On the carriage, she chatted excitedly about past hunting stories. But I was distracted. I don't see the sixth prince today. I said casually. Yunhua pouted. Don't mention it. Grandmother summoned him and made him sit and talk in her carriage. He'll be lectured the whole way. I sighed in relief. Good, he wasn't here. Yunhua eyed me suspiciously. Come to think of it, Xuanxuan's always so arrogant, but he gets along strangely well with you. Qinghe, my heart tightened. I smiled quickly. His Highness is only being kind because of you. I'm just borrowing your glory, sister. Yunhua beamed at the praise, flicking my forehead playfully. You, I smiled shyly and quietly wiped the cold sweat from my palms. 13. After about an hour, we arrived. The royal hunting grounds were vast. The forests dyed in rich autumn colors. Considering my weak health, Yunhua didn't make me ride. She found a sheltered slope with a good view and told me to stay there. Wait here. I'll hunt you a silver fox fur for a scarf. Yunhua wore neat riding clothes, looking heroic and spirited. I smiled and watched her leave. I hadn't been alone long when a sarcastic voice came from behind. Well, if it isn't Miss Qin, sitting here all alone, too weak to walk again. I didn't need to turn to know it was Zhao Qianru. She slapped my shoulder hard. I swayed and almost fell. I frowned and turned, but she cut me off. Of course, you're just a sickly thing, riding and archery. You'll never learn in your life. I was deciding whether to fake a faint or start crying first, when a gentle male voice cut in. Mind your words, Miss Zhao. Miss Qin is unwell. There's no need to bully her. Shen Yanghui had appeared at some point, stepping in front of me. Zhao Qianru blushed when she saw him, but when she noticed how he protected me, her face turned pale. She glared at me and left. Thank you for stepping in, young Master Shen. I stood and bowed. Shen Yanghui smiled gently. It was nothing, if you don't mind. Miss Qin, would you like to walk with me? I was bored sitting alone, so I agreed happily. Shen Yanghui and I walked side by side through the woods, talking happily. He was knowledgeable, witty, and pleasant to be around, I thought to myself. If not for Li Xuanxuan, Shen Yanghui would be an excellent match. As we chatted, rustling came from the grass ahead. I thought it was a rabbit or some small animal and paid no mind, but then a branch snapped. I looked up and my heart stopped. A pair of cold green eyes stared straight at us. Stepping out from the grass was a huge, strong wolf. 14. Shen Yanghui went pale, but he immediately shielded me behind him, his voice shaking. Miss Qin, don't be afraid, I'm here. But he was just a weak scholar. What could he do? I forced myself calm and whispered, young Master Shen, do you have a flint? Shen Yanghui froze, then quickly pulled one out and handed it to me. I grabbed a dry branch, lit it, and waved it hard at the wolf. Go. Beasts feared fire. The wolf flinched back, growling threateningly, but it didn't leave. It circled us, looking for an opening. A bad feeling rose in my chest. Just as I waved the burning branch again, the wolf's eyes blazed with rage. It reared up and lunged. I was blank. I squeezed my eyes shut. At the last second, a whistle cut through the air. An arrow struck the wolf's shoulder perfectly. Arrow. The wounded wolf howled and fell. I opened my eyes shakily and saw a tall figure leap from the trees. Li Xuanxuan held a long blade, his face cold. He attacked the injured wolf without hesitation. The wolf, driven mad, attacked wildly, but Li Xuanxuan was crueler. Every strike was fatal, every cut drew blood. Moments later, with one last cry, the wolf's huge head rolled to the ground. Blood splattered onto Li Xuanxuan's beautiful face, a shocking, bright stain. He flipped his blade casually, turned to me, and smiled. I'm late. Did I frighten you, sister? All sound faded away, only my heart, pounding wildly in my chest. 15. I stared at him, dazed. Before finally coming to my senses, by the time I reacted, I was already standing in front of him with a handkerchief. I cleared my throat and looked down. Wipe this off. Li Xuanxuan didn't take it. He raised an eyebrow, lazy and challenging. My hands are too tired. His gaze flicked past me, landing clearly on Shen Yanghui behind me. Wipe it for me, sister. Shen Yanghui clenched his fists, his face dark. I was quiet for a moment, then stepped forward, stood on my toes, and gently wiped the blood from his cheek. His hot breath was so close. His gaze was even hotter. When I finished wiping the last trace, I didn't step back. I lifted my head and looked straight into his eyes. Li Xuanchuan, I don't think this was an accident. 16. Li Xuanchuan's smile slowly faded. His pretty peach blossom eyes darkened. He leaned closer, his warm breath brushing my ear. I squeezed the handkerchief tight. I thought he'd say something teasing again, but instead, Li Xuanchuan's nose moved slightly, sniffing gently at my shoulder. Did anyone touch your shoulder today, sister? I froze. Before I could answer, Shen Yanghui spoke quickly from behind. Just now, Zhao Qianru, the minister's daughter, slapped Miss Qin's shoulder. Li Xuanchuan stood straight, his eyes ice-cold. I thought so. The royal hunting grounds are heavily guarded. How could a beast go mad like this? Someone put something on you. The scent is very faint, hard to notice unless you're close. It's a secret Western spice, not poisonous, but it drives wild beasts into a frenzy. I went cold all over. Zhao Qianru and I only argued verbally. Her past tricks were just meant to embarrass me publicly. I never thought she'd be this vicious. She wanted me dead. Seeing how pale I was, Li Xuanchuan lifted a finger and stroked my earlobe softly. His tone turned gentle. Don't be afraid, leave it to me. He called over the guards nearby and ordered them to escort Shen Yanghui and me back. He then mounted his horse neatly, his clothes cutting a sharp line in the wind. Before leaving, Li Xuanchuan suddenly reined in, looked back at Shen Yanghui, and smiled. Thank you for watching Qinghe for me today, Master Shen. I'll visit to thank you properly another day. With that, he dug his heels into the horse and galloped off without looking back. I stood there, stunned. Li Xuanchuan's meaning couldn't have been clearer. He was claiming me as his own. I tried to explain to Shen Yanghui, but he shook his head first, a bitter smile on his face. If it were anyone else, I might fight for you. But, if it's the sixth prince, I'd only be humiliating myself. I opened my mouth, then fell silent. 17. The way back was quiet. Shen Yanghui tried to speak several times, then held back. I didn't push it. When I returned to my tent, I finally relaxed and collapsed onto a chair. I wasn't fearless. Only now did I realize how weak my legs were. Not long after, Yunhua rushed in, grabbed my arm, and checked me over. Qinghe, are you alright? I heard you met a wolf. I was terrified. I shook my head and patted her hand reassuringly. I'm fine. The sixth prince arrived just in time. At the name Li Xuanchuan, Yunhua's worry faded, replaced by a knowing look. My brother's always been stuck up. I've never seen him care about any girl like this. She leaned closer and whispered, be honest with me, little sister, what do you think of him? Before, I would have made up 100 polite excuses. But the image of Li Xuanchuan, covered in blood, smiling at me still burned in my mind. I hesitated, unable to say a single lie. That devilish look, fresh from killing, was terribly, terribly attractive. Before I could answer, a guard called from outside, Princess, Miss Qin, His Majesty and the Empress Dowager request your presence. Yunhua and I exchanged a look and hurried out. In the main imperial tent, the Emperor and Empress Dowager sat on the throne. When she saw me, the Empress Dowager waved me over warmly. Come here, child, let me look at you. Are you hurt? I bowed quickly and spoke softly. I'm unharmed. Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty. Shortly after we arrived, guards dragged someone in. It was Zhao Qianru. Her face panicked. 18. I didn't do it. I'm innocent. I did nothing. Zhao Qianru screamed for justice as soon as she saw the emperor. But Li Xuanchuan, following right behind, only sneered and signaled the guards to present something. It was an embroidered sachet with crabapple flowers, delicate and well-made. Father, Li Xuanchuan said. This was found on Zhao Qianru's personal maid. Li Xuanchuan clapped his hands. At once, servants carried in an iron cage with a docile hunting dog inside. Slowly, he pinched a little powder from the sachet, walked to the hound, and scattered it. The dog, calm one moment, suddenly leaped up, slamming wildly against the bars, barking furiously, its eyes turning blood-red. Everyone in the tent paled. Li Xuanchuan spoke calmly. This is a secret Western spice called frenzy beast incense. Colorless, tasteless, but it drives wild beasts into a killing frenzy. He paused, his gaze piercing straight at Zhao Qianru. Earlier, you slapped Miss Qin's shoulder for no reason. Was that just provocation? Or were you leaving something behind? Yanhui stepped forward at the right moment and bowed. "Your Majesty, Your Highness, I was present when Miss Zhao harassed Miss Qin, I can testify. And during the wolf attack, it fixed on Miss Qin from start to finish. It was unnatural." Zhao Qianru had never seen such a scene. She was white with terror, still trying to lie. I don't know, this isn't mine, you don't know." Li Xuanchuan sneered and had another large hound brought in. He looked down at her. "This scent lingers for days even after washing. If you're innocent, would you dare put your hand inside that cage?" Zhao Qianru clenched her hands, panicking. Insolence." The emperor, silent until then, suddenly roared. Zhao Qianru trembled violently. "You have committed murder. Your crime is unforgivable. Take her back to the capital. She will be judged." Zhao Qianru screamed and cried as she was dragged away. I stood there, cold all over. At that moment, Li Xuanchuan's gaze cut through the crowd, gentle and soft, landing on me. His lips moved silently. I understood, and a smile tugged at my mouth. He said, "Sister, don't be afraid, I'm here." 19. Once Zhao Qianru was sent back, the Minister of Works, her father, panicked like an ant on a hot pan. When my father returned, he was clearly delighted. That traitor Zhao knelt outside the palace gates for a whole day and night, begging the consort Shu for help. Consort Shu was Zhao Qianru's aunt. Consort Shu has always been favored. They might let Zhao Qianru off lightly. I sighed, but my father sneered. "Not necessarily, your father isn't weak, and besides, he didn't finish." But I knew what he meant. Sure enough, a few days later, news came from the palace. Li Xuanchuan had dug up old crimes. The minister had embezzled disaster relief silver. He presented it all to the emperor. The emperor flew into a rage and ordered the Ministry of Justice to investigate thoroughly. What they found shocked everyone. For years, backed by Consort Shu, the minister had taken bribes, abused power, and caused countless deaths. Once the wall fell, everyone pushed it. Within days, the Zhao family was stripped of all titles and charged. The minister was imprisoned. His family was exiled 3,000 li, never to return. Even Consort Shu was implicated, disfavored, demoted, and placed under house arrest. I listened to the maid's chatter, my heart full of mixed feelings. I had to admit, Li Xuanchuan's move was fast, ruthless, and decisive. He cut off the Zhao family completely and removed my greatest threat. 20. That night, I dreamed again, as I expected. Li Xuanchuan leaned against a soft couch by the window, twirling a white jade cup. Moonlight fell on him, making him look almost inhumanly beautiful. When he saw me, he lifted his chin proudly. "Sister, are you satisfied with the result?" I looked at him and couldn't lie. I nodded honestly. "I am satisfied." Li Xuanchuan's smile deepened. He set down the cup, stood up, and walked toward me step by step. I stepped back instinctively until my back hit the cold wall. There was nowhere to run. Li Xuanchuan trapped me between him and the wall, one hand resting beside my ear. Leaning down, he was so close I could see his long, curled eyelashes clearly. Then, Li Xuanchuan drew out his words. Warm breath brushing my ear, voice rough. "This brother did so well, won't sister reward me?" My heart skipped wildly. Somehow, I didn't push him away. I sighed inwardly, closed my eyes, and surrendered to my heart. I lifted my arms, wrapped them around his neck, stood on my toes, and kissed him. His lips were burning hot, full of rich wine scent. Li Xuanchuan froze for a moment, then took control, pulling me closer, deepening the kiss. Our breaths tangled, our bodies burned. I went weak. Barely able to stand, Li Xuanchuan lifted me in one smooth motion, carried me to the bed we'd shared so many times in dreams, and laid me gently down. He leaned over me, pressing soft kisses all over my forehead, nose, lips, the red mole behind my ear, and lower. I clutched his clothes, unable to speak. But Li Xuanchuan stopped at the last moment. He propped himself up, his eyes dark with intense feeling. I opened my eyes in confusion. Li Xuanchuan nuzzled my nose, serious and tender. "Sister, I know what you fear, I know what you hold back. Marry me. I'll take you to see the misty rains of the south, the lone smoke of the desert, rivers and mountains. From now on, you only have to be yourself, be the freest eagle under heaven." And I will always follow you. A tear slid down my cheek, I touched his face. You know I've never dared to gamble. Li Xuanchuan's eyes dimmed, I sighed, kissed the scar on his chest, and smiled softly. But this time, I want to bet on you. 21, 3 years later. Desert smoke rises straight, the long river sets into the round sun. I curled up in Li Xuanchuan's arms as he rode slowly, aimlessly across the vast desert. Li Xuanchuan looked down at my drowsy face and pinched my cheek amusedly. It's not even late. Why are you so sleepy, sister? I dodged his hand, huffing. Don't act innocent. If you hadn't insisted on doing that on horseback earlier, forget it. I'm not talking to you. Li Xuanchuan nuzzled my neck, making me squirm. He held my waist and murmured lazily, "Who made you ignore me in your dreams last night?" I blushed and elbowed him hard. How could anyone be as insatiable as Li Xuanchuan? Since we married 2 years ago, he'd kept every word. He'd taken me across mountains and rivers, letting me live as I pleased. But he'd turned our dreams into his own playground, tossing me about by day, teasing me by night, and still dared ask if I liked it. But I was weak. One look from those pretty, pitiful eyes, one touch of his firm abs, and all my tough words vanished. Beauty really was a disaster. As we laughed, camel bells rang ahead. I looked up and saw an old monk in robes, kind-faced, sitting on a camel. Our eyes met. He bowed with hands folded. I bowed back. I thought we'd just pass each other. But the old monk suddenly spoke. "Benefactors, you are bound by fate, soul to soul." Interesting, very interesting. Li Xuanchuan reined in his horse, raising an eyebrow. "Oh, do tell, master." The old monk spoke slowly. 6 years ago, the young master suffered a grave injury, near death. Am I right? 22. I froze. 6 years ago, that was exactly when our dreams began. A grave injury, near death. Before I could think, Li Xuanchuan answered casually, "Ah, yes, that did happen." I thought of the scar on his chest. Whenever I asked, he only said war was dangerous, injuries were normal. I never knew he'd almost died. The old monk smiled. "Your soul left your body, by chance. It found peace in the young lady's dreams. That was how you survived. Since then, your dreams have been tied together." I stood stunned, everything falling into place. Those intimate dreams I'd thought were just fantasies had saved Li Xuanchuan's life, but he'd never acted like a dying man in my dreams. He'd been full of energy. Before I could recover, Li Xuanchuan burst out laughing behind me. He held me tighter, his chin on my head, his chest shaking with laughter. "Sister, did you hear that?" Before I could reply, the monk recited a Buddhist phrase, shook his bells, and walked away, fading into the distance. We were alone again. Li Xuanchuan lowered his head and kissed my ear hotly, voice full of smug delight. "Even heaven tied us together. You're never running away in this life, sister." He dug his heels into the horse, galloping toward the sunset. Wind howled past my ears. I pressed against his chest and heard his joyful voice above me. "Sister, we were made for each other." I buried my face in his broad back and smiled too. Yes, fate really was written in the stars.